No, good morning. It's good to see you guys again. It's football season. We have a big game coming up this Saturday at the Rock. We're welcoming North Carolina into Kid Brewer, and we've had a great off season. Our kids have prepared for it, and we're looking forward to this. It's a game with an in-state opponent. I think it's great for college football. It's great for our state. And it's great for both athletic departments. So I look forward to kicking off at noon on ESPNU.
Thank you very much. As a reminder to members of the media, please feel free to raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll get to you as quickly as possible. We'll go to Dan McDonald. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. The background's okay back there, huh? It's like
yeah, it just about fell off just now, but we're good.
The old cliche about how teams get a lot better between their first and second game. How much of an impact do you think that will have North Carolina State or North Carolina already having played a game?
Well, I think it does have a small impact on things, but this will come down to who makes the least mistakes, who doesn't turn the ball over. But they got one game on us; they can really see what they have to improve on. I know, listening to Coach Brown, tackling was one thing he was wanting to get squared away from last week, but we're only allowed to tackle so many days, and it is what it is. Like I said, this time of year, everybody's excited to play football, but it helps a little bit for North Carolina. But in the big scheme of things, it's not that big a deal.
Lauren, you can go ahead if you want to unmute yourself.
Sure. Hi, Coach. Lauren Walsh from WXII. Just wanted to ask you what your relationship is like with Mack Brown and what your impression is of just what he's been able to do kind of career-wise, but also in this resurgence at Carolina.
Well, I have a lot of respect for Coach Brown. Coach Brown was the head football coach here for one season before Sparky Woods. And when I got the head job, he was one of the first coaches I reached out to. And whenever I call or text, he always gets back to me in a timely fashion. But again, it's not a close relationship, but if I ever need something, he's always willing to help. And, what he's done with that program over the last 4 years he's been there, it's night and day. He's recruiting at a very high level. We don't recruit the same kind of players he has. But just to watch him, the name recognition throughout the state with the University of North Carolina, again, he's coached at the highest of highs. He's coached at the University of Texas. He's been the head coach at North Carolina. He's done everything in college football that you want to do, but got a lot of respect for him. And again, if I ever need any help, he always reaches out to me.
All right, Lauren, any follow-up, or are you good?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Coach here? Dan, I see your hands up. Please go ahead. Dan, you're on mute.
Sorry, technology. You had to do some rebuilding with receiving core into the secondary. Are you happy with the way all that has gone over the spring and going into this fall?
Yeah, I'm very happy where we are right now in both those positions. The receiver room, we lost 4 players and went on to sign free agent deals to the National Football League, and that was a question mark coming in through spring ball and through fall camp. And I'm really excited where we are at the receiver position. I think we got 7 to 8 kids that will play on Saturday. That guys that have really done an outstanding job throughout spring and through our summer workouts, and that's not going to be a concern anymore. I think we have more speed on the outside now than we have the last 4 years, and we got some pretty good playmakers. And through the transfer portal, we've added a corner in the secondary that Dex Lawson from Central Connecticut that's came in and done an outstanding job for us. He's buying what we're trying to get done here in our program. So through the portal and through guys that haven't played much, the receiving core, they're not young, they're inexperienced, but they want to put their name on this program. So I'm excited to watch them play. If there's any indication that how they'll play on Saturday compared to how they played in fall camp of the spring, I think our fan base will be very happy.
All right, and Lauren, I see your hands back up.
Yeah, one more for you, Coach. You touched on it in your opening statement, and I've personally seen just a lot of the excitement from both fan bases on social media and things like that. What do you think is the best part of a matchup like this, especially to kick off your season?
Well, I mention this all the time. I wish we played more in-state schools for our non-conference games, and we have a very passionate fan base. We played North Carolina in 2019 in Chapel Hill, and that was a sold-out crowd. Now we're coming back here in 2022. That's a sold out crowd. It's great for our state. It's great for recruiting. Both fan bases can travel. So I'm a big proponent of that. I hope we do that more often to get that done. And again, I want to say thank you to Coach Brown for allowing this. He didn't have to do this, him and the athletic administration in Chapel Hill there, but it's just good for college football. I mean, I said all the time, we go play non-conference games on the road sometimes, and the stadium's half filled up. And we played in North Carolina. We're playing here at the Rock. It's going to be a sold out stadium. It's the largest venue ever in the county, in the town of Boone. And that's what big time programs do, is they sell their stadium out on a weekly basis. And again, a lot of credit goes to North Carolina for doing it, and a lot of credit goes to Doug Gillen for getting this thing set up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everyone stand by here. We'll be joined with Jamey Chadwell here shortly. All right, Kevin, if you're there, if you go start your video, we'll get started. All right, Coach. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. To members of the media, we would just ask you to raise your hand or type your question in the chat, and we'll get to you. Coach, thank you for joining us. Would you want to start us off with an opening statement?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate everybody being on here this morning. Obviously, we have a tremendous opening game here versus Army. Just a great coaching staff, great opponent that we're playing. Our team's a lot different this year than we've had. We lost a lot of super seniors this last year, so we've got a lot of new people that are in places to play. That'll be the first time they're ever going out and playing in a game where they're playing the majority of the snaps, not in maybe a mop-up role or a backup role. So a lot of new faces that we're trying to implement throughout this fall camp. We've had a challenging fall camp trying to find one, leaders to step up, two, who can we count on when it matters. And so like where our team's at, like our mindset so far, we need this obviously this last week to get prepared for Army and what they're going to bring to the table. But looking forward to seeing this team grow. There's going to be some challenges that we're facing with some of the inexperience that we have. We've seen that throughout fall camp, just taking it day by day. But I do like our mindset, and I know our team is going to be excited about running out next Saturday night versus a quality opponent, and obviously having a tremendous crowd on hand to see a game.
I appreciate that, Coach. And again, to our members of the media, if you just raise your hand with the emoji or type into the chat, we'll get over to you as quickly as possible. So we will start with Dan McDonald. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach.
Hey, Dan, good morning.
I'll ask you the typical question. Is it better to play the option team first time out or play them during the regular year?
You know what? I don't know if there's a good time to play them at all, because they're what they do to you presents a lot of challenges. And I know they've caused a lot of headaches for our staff already trying to prepare for them. But no matter when you play them, they're a very good team. And we'll have to have a good plan to have a chance to slow them down. I don't think you ever stop them, but we're going to have to try to do a great job to slow them down and give us a chance to win the game.
You had to do some retooling in the offensive front, receivers, a couple of places like that. Are you happy with the way that's gone back in the spring and so far in the fall?
Well, I do think we've made some good progress there. I wouldn't say I'm happy yet, because I think we're still, maybe making some mistakes that we don't need to at this juncture, of your fall camp being over and being, basically 6 days away from kicking it off. But I do like the progress we've made. I do think the guys that understand what they have to do to give us a chance to be successful. I just like to see us do it more consistently. And not have some of those plays or days where, we feel that inexperience.
All right, Dan, any follow-up there? Oh,
I'll ask one more. Is there pressure in your non-conference schedule? I mean, you don't play the Power Five, but you play some quality football teams. Is there pressure because, the expectations after what you've done the last couple of years have been set so high? Is there pressure even to, do what you hope you want to do, even in the non-conference schedule?
Well, we do play a Power Five. We do have Virginia at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, I do think our out of conference schedule is the most challenge that we've had in my time frame. I would say there's no pressure. The expectations within your program is always there's a high standard to go out and try to win every game, and so we don't look into what people think on the outside. Oh, you got to win this, you got to win that. It's more so us and just handling the business that we have and trying to go out and play well every Saturday and win. Ultimately, that's the name of the game. And so there's not a pressure added on to that. We want to win. We also know people want to beat us. So it's more about our team and us doing the things that we're capable of. If we go out and play really well, Dan, and do the things we're capable of, and we don't win, I can live with that. It's more so you get beat and you don't do the things that we're known for. That's where you get frustrated because you end up just beating yourself, and that's one thing that we talk a lot about is Coastal not being Coastal.
Doing those things, how much does it help to have a guy like Grayson McCall there?
Yeah, tremendously. You have a guy experienced that has been through the rigors of this college football, a season, 2 seasons here in the schedule and in this conference. And so he's a great calming influence because we do have a lot of first timers that are playing extensive football, and they can look to him and for guidance and wisdom and just see how to handle certain situations. And he's done a good job of that for us.
all right. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Everyone stand by. We'll be right back with Coach Cignetti here very shortly. So please stand by. All right, moving right along. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Again, to our members of the media, either raise your hand through the icon or type into the chat. We'll get over to you. Coach, if you wouldn't mind, could you just start us off with a opening statement?
Yeah, it's game week and everybody's excited. I think we had a good camp. We did have some disruptions with COVID, some soft tissue stuff, but no significant injuries where guys will miss a season. And, I think we're developing, but we're still a work in progress.
Thank you, Coach. All right, we'll move right along. We'll go to TJ with WHSB first. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about last week a sense of urgency that kind of game week was approaching. Now that you've hit the official first game of the season, week for the first game of the season, have you sensed that even a little bit more with the guys? How's everything kind of transitioned now that Middle Tennessee is at the end of the week?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, when you're in camp, you want to install your offense, defense, special teams. You go against each other. You get tired of going against each other. They know your calls, you know their calls. Now you're in game week. You're playing a different style of offense, different style of defense, special teams. So, the preparation part, the details are extremely important from the top down.
Thank you. All right, Wayne, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, good morning. I was wondering to you, what's been maybe the most noteworthy observation of the quarterback competition to this point? And do you expect to name, the starter ahead of Saturday's game?
Yeah, I think that they've all progressed significantly since the spring. And, the last 2 weeks, we've thrown the ball extremely well, making plays on the outside. I just think all 3 quarterbacks have a better understanding of the offense, the protections, where to go with the ball, cutting their losses, not making bad plays. So I think most of the guys on the team pretty much know who the quarterback's going to be. And if I feel like it's important to announce before the game, we will.
I got a chance to talk to Abby the other day, and he mentioned, he had a little bit of a lingering labrum thing. He had since he's been at JMU and had surgery this offseason to correct that, and been feeling good. So he obviously showed some good things last fall. What have you seen from him so far? In the preseason leading up to the year, just his health and how he's making an impact for you guys to this point.
Yeah, he came to us from Minnesota a couple of years ago with a shoulder problem and played through it for a couple of years. So, we fixed it, and I see him being more physical now, play out. He's had a good camp, as has Kamara at defensive end, and I feel good about our end position.
Lastly for me, obviously been a lot of build up. Now the game just this week. I was wondering, where's maybe your confidence level about just what you've seen from the guys as far as their ability to compete now at the FBS level week in and week out from what you've seen of the guys to this point in the preseason?
Yeah, well, from a coach's standpoint, I think there's always that, like you said before, that sense of urgency in terms of your prep, your film prep, personnel prep, to try to put your team in the most advantageous position possible, and then getting the quality repetitions on the practice field, carrying that over to game day. I know our players are extremely excited. We expect a sellout. We're 43-2 at home over the last 6 years. We take a lot of pride in playing at home, and I know that they're going to be flying around on Saturday.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Wayne. We'll head over to Maddie. Maddie, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're doing well. So I'm curious, how much of your preparation as a coach and relaying communications to the team is changing? Like, are conversations going to be changing now that you guys are in a game week format rather than how they were during training camp, or is it going to be staying the same for the most part?
No, I think they do change, and everybody's got to be accountable to each other. You got to get 11 guys doing their job in all three phases, and when you do that, it's not addition, it's multiplication. And but when it doesn't happen, that's when bad things happen. So, in terms of the players preparing like they need to prepare mentally, physically, and off the field, watching tape on their own, that becomes really critical. And every rep in practice becomes critical because, reps are limited.
And then one other question for me. Talk to me a little bit about how Sam Kidd's been doing throughout training camp. It seems like every time I was there, he was a ball of energy, just having a lot of fun. I wanted to know what you were kind of thinking as he progressed over the last 4 weeks. Yeah,
you hit it right on the head. I mean, he's a high energy effort guy. He's a really good football player, good special teams player also. I mean, that's a guy you can count on all the time, Sam Kidd. He is so dependable. And he's one of the leaders on our team, and I'm glad we got him. Early on, he came as a walk-on. He had a hard time staying healthy, had a couple surgeries, but fortunately, knock on wood, the last 2 seasons, he's been able to stay on the field, and, he's a big-time winning edge for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Maddie. I know I saw your hand go up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Coach, what is the, when you look at practice this week, what is the one thing you kind of are still looking for the team to kind of fix and get right for Saturday?
Well, now we're into preparation for Middle Tennessee. So our defense is seeing a completely different type of offense than they've seen in camp. And we're seeing a different kind of defense on the offensive side. And then special teams, their schemes are different too. So I think what you look for from my standpoint is making sure that we've done the preparation as a staff and seeing the things we need to see on the practice field schematically, in terms of what we're doing versus the opponent. And then it's the execution of the players, and toward the tail end of the week, it's okay, do we have too much? We really love this. We're just okay on that. So, your game plan is a very fluid thing that sort of crystallizes as you get closer to kickoff.
Yeah, and then my other question was, how did you kind of see Chris Thornton kind of take a leadership role throughout camp, kind of now going into game week? What have you kind of seen from him from the past month or so?
Well, he's a lot like Sam Kidd. He's a real steady, dependable guy, very trustworthy guy. He's not a real vocal guy on the field, but, he sends the right messages in the locker room. And by the way, he practices and plays on Saturday, and he's had a really good camp for us. And, we got to get the ball in his hands.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Coach. TJ, saw your hand go back up. Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just had two other questions, both related to the running back position. Coach Kalon, we had a chance to talk to last week. What have you seen out of him coming back from injury? He seems like he's excited. Sound like he's feeling pretty good. Do you expect him to again be kind of a big part of this backfield rotation?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Kalon's a guy we're very high on when he first came in here. He had unfortunate injury. He's got a lot of burst and acceleration. He's a tough guy. I thought he had some real good runs in our second scrimmage. He's in that rotation right now with Percy and Latrell. And, you can't have enough running backs because, they go down, you got to have the next guy up.
That was my next question, kind of related to that. How do you see that rotation playing out? How are you working through having kind of multiple guys back there that can carry the rock for you?
Well, we'd like to spread the carries around to keep them fresh. But, you got a guy like Percy, too, that's a senior. He's carried the ball close to 40 times in a game before. And, if a guy's got a hot hand, sometimes you ride the hot hand. So the thing about the games is you're never quite sure how they're going to go. And at some point you got a plan going in. And then, once the first punch is thrown, you got to be ready to adjust. And some of it's just gut feeling.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, we're going to moving right along. We're now joined with Jake Spavital, head coach of Texas State. If you have a question, please raise the icon, hand raise, or type into the chat and we'll get over to you. Coach, would you mind starting us off with a opening statement?
Yeah, excited for this time. Excited to finally get to this point. I think that we've had a long off season. I think there's been a lot of moving parts with college football in general. And I think we've navigated these uncharted waters pretty well. I think just going back to 2020 and the COVID year and the eligibility freeze and the transfer portal. And I think we've handled it pretty well to get to this point where we have a pretty experienced team. And we always kind of talked about year 4 just to try to get our team in position to be able to compete in this great conference that we're in. But I think the team has got great buy-in, great work ethic, great accountability, great discipline. All the kind of the intangibles and all the off the field type of things. I feel very confident in, and really what we've been preaching is we've got to translate this to the field now. We've had some very unique ways of losing games, finding ways to lose games. Unfortunate ups and downs that have occurred, and I think we've learned some valuable lessons from those experiences. But I think just over the course of time, I think these kids are now willing to see if we can translate this to the field, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. We got a great opponent in Nevada coming up for our first game on the road in Reno. It's going to be a good atmosphere. It's going to be hot weather, which it's going to be a great game for us. Nevada is very solid across the board. They're a winning program. They play hard. They compete at a high level, and it's going to be a great challenge for our program. But I think everybody here is excited that it's game week, and we're ready to get this thing kicked off and going. So, questions?
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Shane. Shane, please go ahead.
Yeah, Coach. How you doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. Hey, obviously, any game is big for your program, and you go about it week to week the same way. But as much talk as there was in the offseason about kind of elevating this conference, how big is this week 1 opportunity for your program, other programs around the league to play good teams from conferences like Mountain West?
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for our conference, especially from our standpoint. I know there's a lot of other great matches that the Sun Belt is in this weekend as well, but for us to go in and play a winning program like Nevada with a lot of rich tradition and just all of the things that they've done for the game of college football, this would be a great opportunity for us to kind of get us on the map. We talk about changing the narrative of our program, and in order for us to change the narrative of a program, we got to compete and actually go out and win games like this. And I think it's going to be a great challenge, like I've said. But I think this is there'll be a lot of eyes on this game, especially from a Sun Belt conference to a Mountain West conference game.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
I'll ask you the traditional question. Teams always say that they get better between the first and second game. How much of an advantage Nevada already having a game under their belt and having success in that first game?
Yeah, I think it is a big advantage for them because they've kind of worked out all the kinks of game one. There's obviously a lot of moving parts. There's new players, new coaching staff, new everything for them right now. So they got to kind of figure out, kind of their personnel and what is needed to be successful for their program. I do think that is an advantage for Nevada, but I needed that game too, just from a standpoint at Texas State for us to see what they're doing. They've been very quiet in the offseason. They haven't let much media in. They haven't talked much about, the schemes and the personnel that they've been using. And they gave us an opportunity to at least look at their schemes from an offense and defense perspective and special teams, of course, as well. So, you can look at it two different ways. I do believe that, from week one to week two, there are a lot of strides that programs take just, from actually going out there and playing a game. But, from our standpoint, I think it was very valuable for us at least to get some quality tape so we can have an idea of what type of schemes that we're going to be going up against here on Saturday.
You'd said at the end of the year last year that one of your goals was to improve the throwing game with having Lane there and adding some other keys. Are you where you want to be there now?
Yeah, I think we're a lot more efficient in throwing the football right now. And I think that's going to – I think we have a pretty deep receiver core. And I think that's going to allow us to be a little bit more multiple than what we've been in years past. Just to be able to have a thread of a passing game can also spread the field out a little bit more, and then we can be a little bit more efficient in the run game as well. So having the threat of throwing the football is going to open up a lot of things for us. And having Lane here, he's been great since he's been here. He's thrown for a lot of yards in his high school career. He's thrown for a lot of yards in his college career. And he's definitely added a whole nother dimension to our offense and being more efficient in the pass game.
And one quick follow-up there. How important is it to have a guy like him who's sort of been through this conference?
Yeah, I'm saying he's played a lot of ball. I think he's thrown for 7,500 yards and 65 touchdowns here in this league alone. And I think Lane has been great from a cultural standpoint for us as well. He's an extremely hardworking, kid, and he's done so much, from an impact of just working hard and winning over his teammates. He was unanimously voted captain. He's familiar with this league. He's familiar with what it looks like. So it's been very comforting for me for him to come in and be accepted by his teammates and have the approach that he has right now to try to be as successful as he possibly can.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time.
I appreciate it, guys.
All right, and moving right along, we are now joining Clay Helton, the head coach of Georgia Southern. If you have a question for Coach, please just use the hand icon to let us know, or type into the chat, and we'll get right over to you. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yeah, obviously really excited to get the season underway. Think about it for these kids, 28 weeks of training since January to play the game that we love, and excited to get going with this group, new staff, a new team that looks at 50 new roster spots, both scholarship and non-scholarship players coming in. So it's a new football family getting ready to start a journey. That's an exciting time, especially with all the work that has been done, since we first got here. And so looking forward to being at home in Paulson for the first time. Makes you have goosebumps to be able to have that opportunity. And we're looking forward to this Saturday.
I appreciate that, Coach. Again, to our members of the media, please just either raise your hand or type into the chat, and we'll get right over to you. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. As you look back on it now, you had sort of an interesting transition. You had a few extra weeks to sort of look at things. Now looking from now that's in the past perspective, how much help was that to you?
Oh, great question. It meant everything. I really thought the boldness and the proactiveness of Jaron Bigco and Camarera, our president, just being able to give us those 3 weeks to be able not only to evaluate staff, but players, and kind of seeing what we have and where our strengths were and where our areas of growth. I look back on it now and getting to know, a Coach Whitley, who was the interim head coach at the time, and getting to see how strong he is within this community, within this university, with our players, being the recruiter that he is, and being able to keep him on was huge for us. To be able to talk to the leaders of the team over those 3 weeks to evaluate them, really provide them a vision of where we were going, because kids were making decisions, 5th, 6 years kids. Do I go out in the real world? Do I, do I stay at Georgia Southern? Do I want to be a part of this? And every one of those kids stayed, so to be able to show a vision, to build relationships and trust, and to see exactly what we needed in recruiting was a huge piece of the puzzle for us, and really gave us a jump starting, and we really felt like gave us a head start in building a culture and building a football team.
You've probably been asked this question 500 times, but new offense, new look. How has it all been accepted?
Well, I tell you what, it's been exciting for our kids. One of the things that I was really pleasantly pleased with when I first got here was the amount of quality athletes on the offensive side of the ball, especially a wide receiver. This has been a physical running style team. That's not going to change. We're still going to be physical between the tackles, but we felt like we needed to provide a better balance of offense, of being able to push the ball down the field vertically. And so to bring a Kyle Van Treese in as a quarterback, a guy that's been a 3-year starter, has led Buffalo to a championship game, in my opinion, is an elite passer, and surround him with skilled athletes that can attack every inch of the field. I think that was ultra important for us. So yeah, it's going to be different. It's going to be a change for our fan base, but I've always thought that if you're winning ball games, you're putting a lot of points on the board, people are happy. And so that's going to be our ultimate goal, is to be productive each and every game offensively, and be able to play to our standard of ball.
One more question about your overall schedule. It's new to you, but for a lot of other people around Southern, you've got a lot of new opponents. You're on the east side now. What has been the reaction from people with the new teams coming in the league? And has there been any major changes that you have to do with all those new opponents?
Yeah, well, when you look at it right off the bat, you go, whoa, what a competitive schedule. I mean, 9 of the 12 teams are bowl teams last year. And you look at the eastern side of the conference right now and how strong it is, and the overall conference. Commissioner Gill and our presidents have done such a wonderful job of not only keeping an extremely strong league together, but building on that strength, by adding the 4 teams that we did. I mean, you look at it, and it is, I truly believe this is going to be the premier group of 5 conference in the country. And you're going to look up and see 3 to 4 top 25 teams a year. The players are just too good in this league. You look at the coaches that are coming in this league and the reputation that they have. This is going to be a really strong competitive competitive conference week in and week out. And if you don't play your A game, you're going to get your butt beat. And so proud to be in this conference, proud to have this schedule and this resume. If you do your job, you're going to look up and be really happy in December and be playing in a heck of a bowl game.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Hail Southern.
Thank you. All right. Well, moving right along, we're now joining with Terry Bowden, the head coach of ULM. Again, if you have a question for Coach, just use the hand icon to raise your hand and let us know, or you can place your question in the chat and we'll get right over to it. So, Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind just starting us off with an opening statement?
Yes, we're finally in game week like everybody else, and we're excited to be focusing on another team. Unfortunately, we're having to focus on a real tough opener in Texas, but that's kind of the way we know we've got to look at the first, the first 4 games of our schedule. We're going to play the preseason favorite in the Big 12, the defending national champion in Division I in Alabama, and the 13-1 returning Sun Belt champions Lafayette. Not mentioning Nichols right there in between those. So we know what the season's about. But with that's kind of excited us, and that type of extremely difficult schedule to open with. has allowed our players to have some excitement and some urgency in their preparation. So we're excited to play, and the team is working hard, coming along well, and now trying to get a little more relaxed and not as worn out getting into game week.
All right, thank you, Coach. And again, we just had some people join. So just to remind them, if you would like raise your hand, then we'll get over to you for questions. Our first come from Dan McDonald. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
How you're facing? You mentioned the two teams that you've got to play,
Sure.
and surrounding Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it to sort of try to develop your guys?
Mm-hmm.
a feeling that that we can go out there and we can be competitive, and if things break right, we could win these
Sure.
games.
Well, I mean, I can look back at history and experience. I've coached at SEC level, and I've coached in the Group of Five level. And although I never lost to a Group of Five when I was in a Power Five, I was able to get some key wins at Akron against Pitt, Northwestern. The year we beat them, they were in the Big Ten championship game, and we beat them in Northwestern. So I can talk to our players about experience, and of course, every 10 or 12 years, you'll see ULM knock off an Alabama or a Mississippi State or Arkansas and things that they've done. But we know, the players know that the other team is a huge opponent. But that really it fires them up to help them to prepare. My job as a coach is to get them ready to play the best they can play, and then do a great job of controlling and managing the team morale no matter what happens. I have experience even at Akron. Again, I mentioned that we were in very much the same situation. Lost, I want to say 55-3 to Oklahoma the first game, and went on to have the best year in school history and won our first bowl game. You have to really take those Power Five major games, try to win those games, and have a plan to win those games, but also have plan B and have an ability to manage the morale of your football team and pray that you don't get beat up too much if you get beat up a little bit.
Your team was playing much better defensively at the end of the year last year.
Right.
How much has that sort of carried over?
Well, we need to. You want to play well on both sides of the ball, but you win championships with defense. They need to come every week, and that's where your improvement needs to be. Now, we've had two changes on the staff. Defensive coordinator Vic Koenig is one of them, and he's had a lot of success twice in the Sun Belt at Troy. He was my brother's defensive coordinator at Clemson years ago and has been a coordinator for many years. He does bring his own brand and style into the game, and I think that's going to help us. You win with football players, but some coaches can move the pieces around better than others, just like in chess. But I know he does a good job, or has done a good job of doing that. We've got to play well on defense. I really am pleased with the improvement that we have had on defense with Vic Koenig's experience, his ability to put people in the right position. And through the portal, he was able to find some players that fit his style and philosophy of defense by position. And he was able to do that throughout the spring and the summer. So I think that allows us to hopefully take the returning people that we've got, about 6 starters returning, and add others to that group that fit into this system very well.
One more quick question. Have you decided how you'll manage your quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, we made the announcement this past week that Chandler Rogers would be our starting quarterback. Jaya Wright has had a great offseason, spring and summer. I consider them 1A and 1B. And the only reason I don't continue to do that is that I don't play 2 quarterbacks the same amount. I play a starter, and I name a starter. And I just felt that although it was tight, and that both can be successful in our conference, that Chandler, who had some big wins for us last year, just by a small margin, was a little more consistent and better at leading our football team. So he'll be our starting quarterback. But I do think, without saying we're going to be a 2 quarterback system, which we won't, you'll see plenty of Jaya, I believe.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. And thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time.
All right. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And we got about 2 minutes here until we'll be joined with Coach Sumrall of Troy. So if everyone could just stand by, we'll be back with Coach here shortly. And just a reminder to everybody, again, if you have a question, feel free, you can put it to the chat, or you can just use the hand icon to raise your hand, and we'll get to you as quickly as possible.
Travis, we're ready to go on our end if you guys are.
That'd be great. All right, we're a little ahead of schedule. That's great. So, Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Again, remember it's media. Either use the hand icon or type into the chat. And we'll get right over to you. Coach, would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate everything you guys do to cover our football program, but really the Sun Belt at large. Exciting opportunity for Troy football this week. Game 1, get to play a really quality opponent in Ole Miss. Top 25 team that's coming off of a 10-win season last year and finished the season ranked 11th in the country. So, you know, one of those scenarios where you go into it and you get to really figure out what we're all about, because we're going to play a high-level opponent. We're not easing into the season. We're getting to measure ourselves against a really good team game 1, and excited about that. It'll be a great environment. I think our team, our players, our coaches, everybody's energized about the opportunity. And so really look forward to see how our guys go out and compete. Just want to see us play with great energy and enthusiasm and urgency. And we'll put a blanket over the scoreboard and look up and see what happened at the end of the game. But really, I think we're tired of hitting each other and look forward to hitting somebody else. So with that, open up to questions. Anything y'all got?
All right. Thank you, Coach. Craig, I saw your hand go first. Please go ahead if you want to unmute yourself.
Hey, John. Just wanted to, your depth chart shows Gunnar Watson as the starting quarterback. Just what went into that, first confirming that's true, and what went into that decision.
Yeah, it's true. I can tell you we didn't mislead anybody. I'm not trying to hide anything. Gunnar, a lot of experience here at Troy, has been through a lot of situations. It's really interesting for Gunnar. He's been through sort of like 3 quarterback competitions. He won the job at 20. Didn't to start the 21 season, then finished the season as a starter. And then he's just been the most consistent, Craig, all training camp. I think we've got some really good young players in the room. I think Peter Castelli has got some talent and some tools that are really I'm excited about. Tucker Kilcrease is a young guy in that room that also I think has a really high upside and potential to be a really good college football player. But neither of those guys have played in a college football game yet. And Gunnar has. And so there's something about having been through the battle and been in that fire. And then we did add Jarrett Dagey, which has caught a lot of people's attention, who's the current leader, active leader in Division I football in touchdowns passed and yards passed. So Jarrett's really a seasoned veteran who gives us quality depth that's played in a lot of college football games. It's not going to see a whole lot that's going to catch him off guard. But we're going to roll out with Gunnar to start the game. Doesn't mean other guys won't play, but Gunnar's earned the opportunity to lead this team into game 1 as a starter.
Thanks.
Thank you. Luke, please go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned Jared Dagey there. How does he, change the makeup of that quarterback room, being such a late addition in the offseason?
Yeah, very late ad. Got to us roughly 2 weeks ago, almost. And so a lot for him to catch up and learn. New system, not the same system he's played in the last couple places he's been. But the thing he adds is experience. There's no substitute for the guy's got 79 touchdown passes in his college career and over 10,000 yards passing. And so for us to be able to add a veteran that's got that experience, he's a football junkie. He's a gym rat. He's up here more hours doing extra on his own by himself than any player I've been around in a while, because he has a sense of urgency of really getting prepared and putting himself in a position to be ready if his number's called when it's called. So, but really you can't substitute the experience he brings to the table.
All right, Dan, I saw your hand go up. Please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. You had said during the spring or at some point during the spring, you wanted your team to be more efficient running the ball and be able to convert on third down situations without having to put the ball in the air, to be able to run and pick up first downs and keep drives going. Are you more pleased with where you are there?
Yeah, I think probably the most improved position group on our team from when I got here to right now is the offensive line. And we're nowhere near where I want to be. We still have a long way to go. But in the spring, I'll be honest with you, there wasn't many days in the spring where the defense didn't get the better side of the competition than the offense. There's been a handful of days this training camp where our offense took it to the defense. That's been exciting. As a head coach, I'm a defensive background guy. So in the past, I was always really happy when the defense won the day. Now in the chair I sit in now, I want to see really good give and take back and forth. And our offensive line has improved greatly. We still are nowhere near where we want to be, but our O-line coach, Cole Popovich, I think has done a tremendous job bringing in some quality players, but then also helping get those guys to play at a higher level. So excited about the direction that we're headed there.
You talked about your defense, sort of controlling the offense some during the spring and so forth. How good is it? You've been asked this 100 times, I know, to have a guy like Carlton there anchoring that defense.
Yeah, Carlton, I've used this expression a lot, but Carlton is the biggest recruit I got when I got the job. I think had other people maybe interested in him if he would have maybe entered the transfer portal. And so that was something I knew I was going to have to address. And then probably could have maybe made a run at trying to play professionally. And so when I got the job, I really wanted to make sure Carlton knew that what the vision of our program was going to look like. Obviously, I had the relationship with Carlton because I recruited him here before I left when I was an assistant. But maybe the most instinctive linebacker I've ever been around, and I've been around a few of them that are pretty good. I mean, I've coached a couple first-round draft picks, and so at that position. So he's very, very instinctive, great leader. That's probably the thing I'd say the most. I think Carlton's always been a really good lead by example guy. I think now the thing that stood out to me in being back this year is he's found, hey, if I'm coming back for one more year, my 6th year, I'm going to find my voice. And I'm going to make sure I hold other people accountable to play the game the way I play the game. And so he's the heart of our defense, the soul of our defense, and cannot wait to watch him have the season he's going to have this year, because I think he's primed and ready to continue to build upon the great things he's already done.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great day. Thanks again.
Thank you. If everyone can stand by, we'll be back with Michael Desormeaux here shortly of Louisiana. All right, Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. And for our members of the media, either please use the hand icon to let us know you want to ask a question, or place it in the chat and we'll get right over to you. All right, Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Sure. Yeah, Travis, thank y'all for having me. Like everybody, we're excited to get this thing started. You go through it starting in January where you're working, for week 1. And so, you're finally here. And the thing that we've talked about with our team this year is the opportunities. A lot of new guys will get their first opportunity to be significant contributors here. A lot of guys are going to get their first opportunity to lead on this team and have done so. But for their first opportunity to go out there on Saturday nights and do it. And, had a really competitive training camp. A lot of position battles that were up in the air coming out of spring. Some of them are still trying to figure out and trying to finish. But really excited about this group of kids. I know they're going to go out there and they're going to play brand of ball that we can all be proud of over here in Louisiana. And they've done things the right way from day one. And I'm just excited to see them go out there and get a chance to go do it for real.
Thank you, Coach. As a reminder, members of the media, feel free to raise your hand and we'll get right over to you. First questions come from Dan McDonald. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach.
Morning, Dan.
You've had a few days now since you named Chandler as your starting quarterback. How has there been any reaction from your team, or has everybody just sort of said, okay, we now have our guy and we're ready to go?
I mean, obviously, it's something that I think everyone kind of wanted to know which direction we were going in, but we've all got a lot of work to do. And we've all got our own, we've got our own grass to mow, and got our own work cut out ahead of us. So, our guys has just been business as usual. I feel like our team trusted us as coaching staff to make the right decision. Both of those guys, Chandler and Ben, had both earned the respect of their teammates. So, regardless of which direction we'd have went, our team would have done what they do. They'd have rallied around each other and they'd have been ready to go. But no, it's been business as usual. And, we showed up, to practice and got some work in, and that was that. There's been no issues or no questions or anything like that, which I didn't expect from this group. I knew they would just kind of rally around whoever it was and make it work.
How much does it help that both he and Ben, when he does play, have maybe your deepest wide receiver core you've ever had, and you've also got a lot of quality in the tight end room?
Well, certainly it helps. I think the more weapons you have on the field, it's obviously the better it is. It's a lot harder to defend it whenever you have viable options, in all 5 different spots, as a defense looks at it. So, the receiver room has really done a tremendous job. That they've played to the level that we've expected, and maybe exceeded in some spots. At tight end, we always felt like we had a talented group there, and they're going to be a factor in the pass game as well as the run game, obviously. And then out of the backfield, we've got backs that catch the ball really well. So, for our quarterbacks, there are a lot of options out there, which is good. I've always preached and always been taught that at quarterback, you're just a product of the offense. You go where the ball needs to go. The defense dictates sometimes where the ball has to go, and you just got to, go through your progressions, and you've got to put the ball where it needs to be. And then from there, it's up to the other players to make plays. And our quarterbacks have done a great job of running this system. They've got a really good grasp for it. And, I think it certainly helps when you've got guys out there that can make plays after the catch.
One more quick question, kind of off the wall. You go into the season with the nation's longest winning streak. Is it a source of pride, or is it a source of pressure?
It's a source of pride. We got a lot of guys that are still here that have been here for a long time. And, it's hard to win college football games. Everybody on this call that's been around this, you know that and understand that. So for our guys, it's something that we're very proud of. The pressure as far as that goes, I think it's just, you work every day to defend things like that. You work every day to defend your, Sun Belt West title, the conference championship. You don't just show up on Saturday and that's when it matters. It's you work with a purpose every day. And, we've kind of talked about, the price of success that you want to have, the cost is already determined. It depends on how good you want to be. It depends on what your goals are and how far you want to go with it. And, we've preached that all year. So our kids have worked to that standard. And, on Saturdays, that stuff doesn't matter on Saturdays. Nobody cares about a winning streak or preseason predictions when you get to Saturday. They put the ball down, they kick it off, and it's time to go. So Southeastern certainly doesn't care about that. And for us, it's something that we've worked day in and day out to make sure that we're ready to go out there on Saturdays and play the way we want to play, and defend that as long as humanly possible.
You mentioned Southeastern. You're a guy who grew up in Louisiana. You've been here all the time. How important is it to play an in-state team?
I think it's great for our state. Number one, the money stays in state. So, it's everyone needs money. We all know that. It makes, it makes this thing go round. I think it's great whenever you can keep the money in state. On top of that, for crowds and for fan engagement, it's awesome. Our players know each other. At some point we've recruited a lot of these players that are on Southeastern's team. A lot of familiarity with them. Their coaching staff, Frank Selfo's a Louisiana guy. They've done a tremendous job over there, building a really good football team that's been, in the national talks the last couple of years in the FCS ranks. So it's huge. And I think those games are always fun. I think when there's something personal to it, just our kids knowing each other and understanding the familiarity and kind of where those things sit, I think it makes it nothing but a good thing. So I enjoy playing the in-state teams. I think it's great. I don't see in what world that's ever a bad thing.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
Yep.
All right. If everyone could stand by, we'll be back with Will Hall of Southern Miss here shortly. All right, again, to our members of the media, if you have a question, please just go ahead and use the hand icon or place it in the chat. We'll get right over to you. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yeah, just excited to be kicking off the season. You know, it's been a great off season for us. We've recruited really well. We've worked really hard to keep establishing this culture. And, you know, like everybody at this time of year, ready to play somebody else and roll it out there and see what happens. Like old Jerry Clower, you know, when he was stuck up in the tree with the raccoon, he kept saying, man, just shoot up in here amongst us. One of us got to have some relief. We're ready to roll it out there and see what's going to happen. So with that, I'll open it up.
Thank you, Coach. David, I saw your hand go first. If you want to unmute, please go ahead.
Hey, Will, how you doing?
Great, David. Good to see you.
You too. Talked a lot last week, I guess, about feeling like the underdog in this game and kind of what you'd like to see from a community perspective, you know, I guess to help you guys win this game. I'm curious, on the field, what are some of the on-field ingredients that you guys need to happen in order to get a positive result Saturday?
Yeah, well, anytime you got to pull off an upset, you know, you've got to play really well. And the first thing you've got to do, you know, David, is make sure that you don't do the things that cause you to lose, you know. So pre and post snap penalties, things we can control. We've got to not do that. We've got to obviously win the turnover margin. That would be huge. We've got to be really sound in the kicking game. And our good players have got to play well, you know, for us to pull this off. You know, we got a tremendous amount of respect for Liberty and Coach Freeze. They're going into year 4 of their program. They've established themselves as one of the top group of 5 programs in America. And I know they've got great lofty goals for this season. And we obviously understand what a tremendous challenge this is going to be.
All right, Damian, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Hi, Will. Damian Sordelet with the News in Advance in Lynchburg. Wanted to ask you about your relationship with Josh Aldridge. Spent 3 years on your staff at West Georgia, along with Sam Gregg, who just joined. You reunited with him at Southern Miss, and you mentioned like there's 5, 6, 7 other guys on that staff who helped build his coaching chops there at West Georgia. Could you speak to that relationship and maybe the growth you've seen in Josh Aldridge over the last few years?
Yeah, first off, think a lot of Josh as a person. You know, I think he's a real man in this profession, and in a profession where, you know, there's less and less real men left than there used to be. Josh is one of the good guys. He was a great player at Harding, D2 guy that played his butt off as a DN. I coached against him and hired him when he was really young as a D-line coach. And he just a phenomenal recruiter, great person. You know, love his wife, Jessica, and their kids, and just really take a lot of pride in seeing his growth and maturation as a coach, and know he's already done a lot of great things for Coach Freeze there, and know he'll continue to do that.
All right, Dan, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you, Dan.
Your defense was probably better than the numbers might have indicated last year because your offense was inconsistent. How do you keep that, you know, defensive going like a traditional Southern Miss defense is and get that offense cranked up this year?
You know, Dan, I actually disagree with you. I think we were really consistent on offense. We were consistently pathetic. You know what I'm saying? So, no, we were really bad on offense, put our defense in a lot of bad situations. I thought we played well defensively in year 1. We only gave up 23 touchdowns in 11 games defensively. And, you know, I think Coach Armstrong and our defensive staff have done a great job of getting that nasty bunch mentality back here. We want to build back to that. We've recruited well, and hopefully we can take another step forward with that. And hopefully we can play a little better offensively this year to put them in a little better situation.
Nick, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hey, Coach. Nick Pierce from Liberty Flame Sports Network Radio. I read that it looks like, I guess, Ty Key's going to be your guy, quarterback. What has he done to show you that he's able to do that? And then I guess, just the small sample size last year with the 3 games. I mean, what have you seen from him?
Well, as far as what he's done, I mean, he's our best player at that position, so he's going to be the starter. He was a great high school player. He came in as a true freshman last year, started 3 games, played in 4, and would have started the rest of the season, but he got hurt. He had a great off season. He's gained a lot of weight, gotten stronger. He's an athletic kid that's got a chance to be a great player. He'll only get better as the year goes on because he's young. But he was a 4-year starter at one of the great programs in the whole Southern United States at Taylorsville, won 3 state titles, and just a great kid. And, but as far as him, what has he done? I mean, he's the best player at that position. So that's why he's going to be the starter. And, we really think he's got a chance to have a great future.
One quick follow-up, if I can. Hayes Maples, how do you replace a guy like that on defense?
Yeah, well, the only way to replace anybody that gets hurt is you got to recruit, unfortunately. That is a position where we've recruited well. Santrell Latham and Swayze Bozeman are both back. They've played a lot of minutes in college football. They've gotten some accolades in our old conference, Conference USA. And then we recruited Dalen Gill, who was a junior college All-American and also played a lot at Ole Miss, was an all-state player at Louisville High School in Louisville, Mississippi. And then we got TQ Newsome back, who was a highly recruited kid out of Gulfport that played a lot of minutes for us last year too. So we got some depth there. We certainly didn't want to lose Hayes, but it's part of it. And, we'll keep rocking and rolling there.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. I do appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, we'll keep moving right along. We're now joined with Shawn Elliott, the head coach of Georgia State. If you have a question for Coach, please use the hand icon to raise it or place it into the chat. We'll get it right over to you. Coach, would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Sure. Well, first of all, good afternoon. It's probably one of the most exciting weeks of, I know, any coach's life is the opening week of college football, their first game week. Same for, I know, all the players across the country. Our team is no different. We're out there this morning. Our practice is just everybody's bebopping around, popping around, and a lot of great attitudes out there this morning. We're just ready to get started. Looking forward to what we hope, and certainly it can be if we got the right mindset and go out and play well to a great 2022 season. But we all understand what it takes to be good and what it has to happen in order to continue success. I think we have the mindset, and I think we have the players. We have to go out and execute it. Like the old cliche is, one opponent at a time, and we'll take it for what it's worth. But we have a great opening opponent in the University of South Carolina, someone that I'm very familiar with, someone that a lot of our players are very familiar with. So that adds a little bit more to the mix, so to speak. But we're ready to go.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. And again, to members of the media, please use the hand icon, and we'll get over to you. Pete, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself? You can go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Shawn, it's Pete Yakabelli from the AP in Columbia. What's it going to be like? Have you thought about walking back into that stadium that every nook and cranny going ahead? And secondly, another big week, you were here last week to receive the Order of the Palmetto from the governor. That's got to be an amazing honor for a guy born in Camden and raised in South Carolina.
Well, yes, certainly to answer the first question, walking back into Williams-Brice, to be on the other sideline is something that I've never had to do, to be honest with you. Maybe a scrimmage, I was over there one day, but it's going to be thrilling. All honesty, it's going to be awesome. Going back in there to play the University of South Carolina. Grew up 25 miles away. A lot of games that I watched there, a lot of games that I've won there, won a state championship there, and now we're taking our team, the Georgia State Panthers, back there to open up our season. So, yeah, that's going to be, hopefully a great night, but it's going to be an exciting one. As far as receiving the Order of the Palmetto, really, I'm speechless, to be honest with you. Such an honor. Governor Henry McMaster, I sit here and I'm just humbled by it, to be honest with you. you know, I've had a pretty good, decent career in this athletics and in the game of football. And, you know, some other things have, you know, led to probably that award, but I'm just speechless. I think it's the highest honor any civilian in this, of a South Carolinian can receive. And to be honest with you, to have received that is just incredible.
Shawn, if I could ask one more question, how about football? How have you seen South Carolina's offense mature last year? And do you think, and what do you think Rattler will bring to that attack?
You know, I don't know. I wouldn't say their offense matured. You know, they were about what they were all year long. And that's not bad nor great or anything like that. Don't misread what I'm saying, but they ended it with a really strong performance and something they hadn't done all year. And starting to carry on Joyner and at quarterback and just going out and doing some things. They played with great effort there in that last contest in the bowl game and really did well. You know, what does Rattler bring to the table? You have to think a little bit more consistency in the throw game. You have to think their throwing game is going to be a little bit more enhanced. I think he's a quarterback that can make all the throws across the field, from your long post throws to your out routes across the field on the opposite hash. I mean, he's a quarterback. So there'll probably be a little bit more opportunity to go downfield. You know, I think even though a lot of people say they did not run the ball well, I think they're going to probably lean towards letting him make the difference in this offense and make more throws.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pete. Stan, I see your hands up. If you want to unmute, please go ahead.
Hi, morning, Shawn.
Good morning.
Can't believe I get to talk to you and see Pete Iacobelli the same day. It's like a great day.
It's always a great day, right?
Absolutely. Who are some of the guys in the preseason camp who have stepped forward and maybe are going to play roles that maybe we didn't know about, you know, a couple of months ago?
I think, you know, one individual that you're going to hear a lot of and is probably along the offensive line where you were looking to replace really one guy. And a guy by the name of Bryson Broadway was transferred from Eastern Illinois and has come in here and just really worked himself into a fine football player. I think every offensive line coach and every coach around the country that has a guy that plays with a lot of passion, a lot of effort, a lot of intensity, that has the want to that you want in this day and age is really good to see. He's a guy that has done a nice job, a really, really nice job in stepping up. And we feel as comfortable about him going into the ball game as we have, you know, some of these other guys that have been around here for a long, long time. So he's definitely one. You know, the other guys that we have are guys that have all been around here that have done, you know, great things in the past. So it's hard to pinpoint one guy in particular. I think at the tight end position, Chris Bird is a guy that's going to emerge and do a lot of good things for us. You know, Aubrey Payne is a seventh-year guy that we have, but I think Chris Bird has done a really nice job of coming in and manning that tight end spot. Aubrey's been banged up a little bit, so he's been out. So Chris has had the opportunity to go in there and do some good things. Defensively, I mean, we know it's all the usual suspects. I mean, you got Thomas Gore at the nose, you got Antavius Lane hit stick in the back end, you got Quay at corner, you got Keith Brown another corner. I mean, those guys, Blake Carroll, Venziat, linebacker. And so it's all the usual suspects. But I will say this, you know, somebody that, and not so much just somebody, a group. I think our special teams, I think Michael Hayes, when I looked at not just Hayes, but all of our kickers, Cade Loggins, we've got some other guys that have come in here and have walked on for us that have made a huge contribution. And I think we probably have the best well-rounded special teams unit that I've seen as far as our specialists, from like a kickoff guy to our punter, to our field goal extra point guy, to our snappers, to our holders. They've really done a fine job. And I guess adding Arkita Banks, our special teams coordinator, has really helped us a lot.
We have time for one more. Brady, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Kind of following on that one, you talked about how you have a lot of starters back. So how is the general competition? You mean you've got a lot of people with spots coming back, but you still want that general competition. How is camp in that regard, just through the whole roster?
Camp was great. Yeah, I think it ended up being, if our I guess, measure camp, rank them. I think it was one of the tougher camps we have had. I mean, we really pushed them early on for about 16 days, hard. We had great competition in almost all of our segments. And, it's hard when you have such an experienced group like that. It's sometimes if you're the backup guy, you probably look to him and say, well, he's going to man that job or man this job. But those starters, those returning veterans that we have, lettermen that we have, really did a nice job in playing really almost harder than I've ever seen him. A guy, you take our center, Malik Sumter. I think Malik had the best fall camp that I've seen him have. And here's a guy, I mean, this guy's been around forever. He's been starting for 4 years. And it was the toughest camp, but he probably played as well as I've ever seen him play. So those guys really stepped it up a notch. I think, when you want to do the things that we're trying to do here, you have to do things differently. And those veterans, the Blake Carrolls, the Benzials, the Maliks, the Travis Glovers, our backs and Tucker Gregg and Jam, and all those other guys, they really stepped it up a notch and pushed themselves this fall camp to make sure that we come out of the gates with the right mentality and get the season started straight and right on task.
All right. Thank you. And I thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
You as well. If everyone would stand by, we'll have Butch Jones here shortly from Arkansas State. And again, while we're getting Coach here, just a reminder that if you have a question, just go ahead and use the hand icon and to let us know, and we'll put the question in the chat, and we'll get over to you. All right, Coach, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Sure. Well, good morning. I know everyone's excited to finally be in game week, and we're obviously excited to start our preparation. We always talk about first games are always kind of the games of the unknown. You never really know too much about your opponent. I think this week is really indicative of that with Grambling, with Coach Jackson. When you look at just the landscape of college football and the ever-changing rosters and roster management and transfers, so you really don't know, really from our program standpoint, with some individuals playing for the first time, then obviously from your opponent as well. But it's all about preparation, pride in our preparation, creating the habits, and then getting into, game week now and all the different things that go along with it. But, for us, I think it's going to be the ability to adapt and adjust throughout the course of the game, communication. We're playing a team that's very, very talented. When you watch them from last year and you try to watch some of the transfers from high school video and previous schools, they have very, very good team speed, very, very athletic. So it's going to be a great challenge for us. And it all starts obviously today with a great Monday of getting started. So I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Coach. As a reminder to members of the media here, you could put your hand up on the icon or type into the chat. We'll call on you. All right, Jeremy, please go ahead.
Coach, I know that the first objective is to beat Grambling State, but what is the second priority for the Arkansas State Red Wolves going into Grambling? What are you going to be looking for?
Well, you're exactly right. It's to win the game, first and foremost, but it's also a first opportunity to put our football identity on video, every player, their individual video identity, but also our team identity. With what we're going to stand, what's going to be in our DNA. Are we going to be a team that competes for 60 minutes, that plays with great effort and great passion and details and fundamentals and toughness? So there's a lot of things that go into the first game. I think, when you look at the landscape, college football, really, when you look at first games, it doesn't change. I did a study of all the games that were played in week 0. And it still comes down to turnovers, taking care of the football, generating turnovers, explosive plays. the ability to tackle. I think that was really evident in week 0, and then special teams. So there's a lot that goes into it, but really with first games, it comes down to tackling, it comes down to turnovers, and it comes down usually to special teams.
Coach, just to follow up on that, we don't have it too deep yet, but you talked about you have a lot of new guys on the roster, a lot of new faces. Who's going to be one or two guys that we should look out for?
Well, yes, we just released the 2 deep, so you should be getting that. But, you know, Jordan Rhodes is an individual who started right guard for us. So we're excited to see what he can do. He's a transfer from Ole Miss, was also at the University of South Carolina. So he'll be our right guard. Excited to see what McKeelan Thomas can bring to the table at left tackle. He's an individual that we made a decision last year to play. He had the 4 games left to be able to still redshirt him. So we tried to gain the valuable game experience and reps for him. I'm excited to see James Blackman. So there's a lot of individuals. You know, TW Ayers has done so much for us and moving to the defensive tackle position. So there's a lot of individuals looking forward to. Denard Flowers is a defensive end who's, you know, really worked exceptionally hard, had a very good spring, and kind of kept the momentum moving forward coming into training camp. You know, also our specialists with Dominic Zavada, you know, making his debut at kicking as well. So there's a lot of unknowns right now, but, you know, you try to put them in as many game-like conditions as possible and kind of see how they're going to perform. I think, though, we do have some individuals that have played a lot of football as well. So I think they'll help the youngsters. You know, they're researching right now. Jerry came to me, and I think we're the 3rd youngest college football team in America. So we're going to have to rely on the veteran leadership that we do have. You know, and it starts with preparation and them understanding what goes into a week of preparation, not just physically, but mentally, taking care of your bodies, respect to the opponent, you know, how much video you watch, because Grambling's a football team that if you have a missed assignment, they're going to make you pay for it. Coach does a great job, as we all know, in terms of play calling and creating one-on-one matchups, and they have the players that can win the one-on-one matchups. And then defensively, they're very aggressive, very physical. So again, it's going to be a great challenge for us. We have to play our best football right out the gate.
Thank you, Jeremy. Chris, you want to go ahead?
Hey, Coach. You guys had a grueling physical fall camp. In terms of health of the team, are there any players you may anticipate not being able to play this opening week?
Yeah, as of right now, Wyatt Beagle will still be out. We anticipate getting him back in a couple weeks. Unfortunately, probably the biggest news is Javonte Mackey has been lost to the season. He suffered a torn meniscus, so he'll undergo surgery tomorrow. Kind of a freak thing, really a non-contact thing of running. So very, very unfortunate for him because he was an individual who was going to play significant downs for us. We had significant time, but now it's an opportunity for him to get a jump start in academics. And I know him, he'll be back for the spring and he'll be ready to go. I think those are the 2, you know, injuries going into this game. You know, everywhere else, you know, the associated nicks and bruises that you have coming through a long fall camp. But right now, there'll be some game time decisions on everyone else. But other than that, everyone should be ready to go.
Right. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
You guys have a great day.
You as well. Thank you, Coach. Everyone can stand by. And just as a reminder, if you can mute your line, unless you're asking questions, we would appreciate that. All right, Coach is here and he's ready to go. So we'll go ahead and get started early for everybody. And I do appreciate Coach's time. So again, to our members of the media, if you have a question, again, just raise your hand with the icon or posting in the chat and we'll get over to you. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yeah, obviously appreciate having everybody here today. Appreciate all you guys do, especially the writers here in the Huntington area. Sunbelt's done a phenomenal job getting us to this point. I guess it's it's on me now. But we appreciate everything you guys have done, from media days to joining the conference up until now. Game week, obviously a lot of teams have already played in week 0, but this is our game week. We're excited about the opportunity. I think we got a really good culture and really good point of up into this point of the camp season. Going to continue to use this week to maximize the last few days that we have, but feel like we're in a really good spot. I'm excited about the opportunity to open up with Norfolk State. As a former Hampton Pirate, the battles between Norfolk and Hampton were vicious, very competitive. 13 miles separated, Norfolk State and Hampton. So it was a lot of crossover between each other, but really good opportunity. Coach Odom has done a phenomenal job with those guys. He's in year 2 as well. So I know some of the struggles that he's going through, and I've seen his team improve from, the first game of last year until now. So we're excited. Our players are back in the building. Yesterday was their official off day, so they're back in the building today, ready to start this game week off.
Appreciate that, Coach. As a reminder to members media, if you raise your hand, we'll call on you. First to come up was Luke. So Luke, if you want to unmute, you can go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Great. How are you, buddy?
Good. You had that mock game over the weekend. How did that help prepare your guys for maybe what to expect this week after going through kind of a simulated game week all last week?
Yeah, we did it because with 48 new guys, it's really almost a new team. And then we added another 10 or 11 walk-ons when school started. So you talk about, basically half the team is new. Plus we had a lot of new coaches and new staff members. So we went through the full deal. Our recruiting staff walked through the areas where they were going to be doing the recruiting. On game day, our operations staff went through their process. Our players went through their process. I think hopefully what it will do is it'll allow us to eliminate some of the anxiety and confusion with I don't know or hesitancy of where do I go next or what is this drill or what is this time period. Hopefully that'll allow our guys to put themselves in a better situation on game day to where they can manage themselves, they can manage their own energy and enthusiasm and excitement without question of, what's next. So I thought it was really good. The defense hates every time I said the other team scored. And so I told them we should have a shutout in every game then, but it's really good. Just different situations. What happens after a touchdown? Do we just assume we're going for 1? When are we going to go for 2? Hey, if so-and-so's helmet comes off, how do we manage that rotation at different positions? Different points in the game, going from sudden change on offense to special teams to different periods of, areas of the field, the time parameters, 4 minute, 2 minute, last 8 minutes, that time between the end of the first half, beginning of the second half. So I thought we got a lot of work out of it. We were able to film it so we can kind of go back and look at some things from a spacing organizational wise to make sure we're good to go for next weekend.
Quick follow-up to that, obviously, with the news about Rasheen Ali last week, how have the guys behind him been able to kind of adjust and prepare themselves this week?
Yeah, we just told them the story of Rasheen Ali. 365 days ago, we didn't do a mock game, but we did a kind of a simulated scrimmage. Rasheen Ali ran with the 3rd group in that scrimmage. That's where he was on the depth chart a week before the game. When we started last year, the first game at Navy, Rasheen Ali was not the starter. Now, don't get me wrong, Rasheen Ali, phenomenal player, and a lot of production that he brought to this program. But we used that as an example because you never know when your opportunity is going to come. And what you do with that opportunity is totally up to you. Rasheen wasn't on an All-American list. He wasn't on the All Sun Belt or whatever conference list. He wasn't on any of the award lists. No one knew who the guy was. And he just kept working. His opportunity came, he was ready. So we use that example with every position. You don't know. The guy that we have, quote unquote, labeled as the starter, who knows what play, what opportunity is going to happen, and the guy behind him may be forced into action. So we use that. I think the guys that behind him, LeBourne, Payne, Gordon, Turner, those guys are chomping at the bit for the opportunity. Now we just got to prepare them for Saturday and managing the expectation, managing the excitement so they can go out and perform.
All right. Thank you, Luke. We'll go over to Paul. Paul, if you want to unmute, you can go ahead.
Coach, good afternoon. Speaking of Norfolk State, you mentioned your history with them. Some of the things that I hear fans talk about, they look at Norfolk State and they're not impressed. You know that a program like Norfolk State is going to offer you a strong challenge. You have a good history with teams like Norfolk State. Their athletes are pretty good too.
Your dial-up went out. Give it to me again. Your dial-up went out. Let's get off Netscape.
The challenge this week for Norfolk State. This is a team that maybe fans overlook this opponent. You, on the other hand, you know the caliber, the quality of this opponent.
Yeah, well, we talked to our team on Saturday. If you're trying to win a championship, it doesn't matter who you play. You're going out to play your best brand of football. If you're in a program that prepares by the opponent or prepares by outside factors, you're very rarely going to win a championship because you won't be able to build the consistency in your habits and the consistency in your performance to do it. So I got told the team, if anybody in here is overlooking anybody on the schedule, we're never going to win a championship. So we're wasting our time. I think when you start making one game bigger than the other, or this opponent is good, but this opponent's not, I think you create inconsistencies in your message. I think when you create those inconsistencies, you're asking for inconsistency in your performance. So like I told the team, I don't understand what overlooking someone is. Every time we get an opportunity to go out, we're trying to create and reestablish our identity. And if our identity is baited on, who we play or what the score is or what color uniforms we wear or what time the game is, then we're wasting our time. We can all go home and show up on Saturday because that's how you're going to perform. So I know fans get into, well, we only come to games where it's a good game. They're all good games. We get 12 opportunities at this thing. So every one of them is vital. Every one of them is important. Every rep you take, whether it is in the first quarter, second quarter, wherever it is an opportunity for you to show your talent. Our guys have aspirations of playing at the next level. The NFL just doesn't watch the good games. They watch them all. So if I got an opportunity to put my talent on display, I'm gonna put it on display, whether I'm playing Norfolk State or the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm gonna put my talent on display. So I don't think our program or I don't think our players will have that mindset. If you don't respect your opponent, you're asking for them to come out and take your respect. So I think our guys will be focused on what we always talk about in this program is consistency in our performance, consistency in our preparation, and how hard do we play.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys. Look forward to seeing all you guys next week. A bunch of the guys I'll see here in Huntington. Hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you. All right. Kane has joined us now. And again, to our members of the media, if you could just raise your hand with the icon or type into the chat, we'll get right over to you. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yeah, obviously, it's an exciting time of the year. It feels like football season, and it is football season. And so our players have been doing a tremendous job of working with one another, starting to get those nuanced areas to preparing for the first game of the season. A lot of situational work this past week, just getting in the flow of how we do scout team work and preparation for Nicholls State. So certainly looking forward to it. I think our team has improved in almost every area and facet, talent, scheme, culture, how we do things, the expectation, certainly the physicality of our program, I think has greatly improved from year one to year two. And we're excited to be able to show that on the field on Saturday.
Appreciate that, Coach. Thank you very much. It's a reminder to our members of the media here, if you want to use the hand icon or the chat function, we'll get to you right away. All right, our first questions come from Sam. Sam, please go ahead.
Hey, Kane, can you talk a little bit about having some veteran leadership in your secondary going into this first week? What is having guys like Luter and Gallman back this year do for you guys heading into week one?
Well, obviously to have somebody, you talk about Darrell Luter and all the things that he was able to accomplish, and all, he's gotten about every preseason accolade that you could have. Seems like there's a new one on my desk every day. Really excited for him going into his senior season. He's such a special skill set, but he also does things at an elite level on and off the field. And then you add, some young talent who's already been in our program, like Yam Banks, who I think has as much upside in our defensive secondary as anybody playing the Husky nickel position. And then, this transfer portal has been really good to us. We've been able to bring a number of experienced starters from other programs into our defensive secondary. Jamar Richardson playing the field corner position for us as a starter at Ole Miss. Jalen Jordan, and another Ole Miss transfer that will be playing the rover position, the field safety. And then you've got a young guy like Jaden Voisin, who I think has been with us and starting to really do some impressive things, along with Marvin Martin, who is a Kansas State transfer. So just really excited about the depth and talent of that group. And defensively, we put a premium on takeaways, and having guys that can go anticipate and make a play on the ball is something exciting to look forward to.
Kane, what do you want to see here in game one of year two? Finished one win away from bowl eligibility last year. Obviously, making that bowl is a goal for this season. But how do you start it off with week one here?
Well, we do. We want to be a program that every year we're in a bowl game and we're in arm's reach of a conference championship year in and year out. And I think that we are making steps closer to that that standard, and then that expectation that we want to hold ourselves to. And so, you think about us and a team a year ago that really, I thought we were in big games against the best teams in our league. We missed a field goal with 40 seconds left lost to Louisiana 20-18, losing overtime to a very good Coastal Carolina team. And so, we weathered the storm against some of the best teams in our league. And I think that we've got to start, we talk about becoming the storm ourselves and inflicting our will and our force onto other people. We are certainly a more physical team than where we were a year ago. And I think that's where it starts, certainly up front in the offensive and defensive line, but just the overall physicality that you play with. And typically that means that you know what to do at a higher level than where we were a year ago. That's why teams play faster and play more physical, because they know what to do. And I think that we've taken some great strides there.
All right. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, Coach. That's all we have for today. We really do appreciate your time.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Jay's up and Elliott.